it's very easy to find things that you hate about yourself than things that you like about yourself.
The ease we have in finding other people beautiful is the ease that they have in finding us beautiful.
I think people just want to exist as they are.
A bulk of it really is how you feel about yourself when you walk into a room.
Hi everyone, I'm Abshi.
I'm Rocky.
I'm Renosha.
And I'm Dave.
And welcome to the Woke Up Show. So, how are you girls feeling today? Feeling good?
Feeling good.
Feeling beautiful?
Great, beautiful.
Feeling good.
You guys all look very beautiful to me. So I'm very, very excited to have this conversation with you ladies today, because I think that this conversation that has been put out in like the media these days, it's very focused around self-love, and I think that's nice. But I think that just blanketing self-love in terms of beauty is not doing it justice, in my opinion. So maybe we can break that down a little bit more together. But before we start, can you guys introduce yourselves? Whoever wants to go first. Don't be shy.
My name is Bae. What else?
What do you do? How old are you?
I am a freelance content creator and model. I'm 23 years old, and I'm a very proud cat mom.
I would love that.
Oh, my turn? Should I look?
You can look anywhere.
Anywhere.
You can look at me as well.
Okay, so it's so weird though. Okay, my name is Rocky. I am a psoriasis advocate. So what I do is I raise awareness for a skin condition called psoriasis, and I'm gonna be a holistic nutritionist, and I've also been helping people. I've been teaching people how to manage their skin conditions.
Specifically.
Oh my god, no, I can't even pronounce it anymore. But yeah, psoriasis and eczema. Yeah.
Nice.
Focus on these two conditions. So very
That's
happy.
amazing that you can deal with it also with nutrition. It's like a big way to manage the skin condition.
It is actually the most fundamental way, but it's not educated anywhere.
Yeah, because you would think that like with a lot of this what's the word I'm looking for? Like pharmaceutical kind of medication, it's just like take pills and like that's it. Yeah. But there are other like natural ways to like fix, like make yourself feel better. What about you, Renosha?
I'm Renosha. I'm turning 26 next year, but I'm going to pretend like that's not a thing.
Nah,
I'm still 23.
Same. Okay, we entered this pandemic at 23. I'm not letting
I'm still
you go
23.
yet.
Yeah.
The past 2 years didn't count.
So I am freelancing right now. I'm a freelance stylist for now. Don't know what's gonna happen next. And proud cat mom also. Very proud.
Yeah. I'm a cat mom too. Look at us. What about you?
I'm a dog mom.
Oh no.
And my dog bit my shoe.
But she
So
loves,
maybe not a
she
very
loves
dog
my
person.
sister's cat also.
Oh yeah, I do.
Cat auntie.
Yeah, cat auntie lah.
Yes. That's a nice one. All right, so when you guys were growing up, right, what did you guys understand to be beautiful? Like when you looked at media or whatever, like magazines, whatever you consumed when you were young, what did you guys see as the definition of beauty at that time?
I think it was very much what was being fed to us. Is tall, white, skinny, straight hair, small waist, things like that.
Yeah.
And we all just bought into it and believed like that is our standard for until very recently only.
I think probably maybe 5 years ago, maybe it changed.
Yeah, but even then, it's not like it's changed that much. It's changed, but
It's changing.
yeah,
Yeah. But and I don't think there's anything wrong with us buying into that because we were kids. We were like 8, 9, 10 and that's all we saw.
Yeah, but I think it was the fat ideals of the parents also. Like they also believe like this is what it is. So like if your own parents don't think that you're like beautiful, then
how are you gonna feel it yourself?
like they are the people who gave birth to you and they're constantly telling you like, okay, here's a whitening product that you need to take. Okay, maybe you should lose a bit more weight. Like you're feeding me that, so I'm not supposed to feel beautiful.
Yeah, and I feel like not to say this about your parents or anybody specifically, but I think our parents also have their own like trauma with dealing with what is beautiful. That
And they probably grew up with a lot of the similar things that we grew up being fed.
Yeah.
It's just that they didn't have, I guess, what we have now, where things are sort of slowly changing with social media, especially. I think. But they didn't have that. So when they had us, it's like, here's the same stuff that I grew up with, and I'm just gonna push it onto you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just that I think that like we know now that if you have a child, you need to like kind of like deal with your own shit before you put it onto them, especially when it comes to appearance, because it's so easy to have it like, you know, you don't want your children to hate how they look. You want them to love it no matter what you look like.
Yeah.
But what about you guys? What did you guys see when you were growing up? Pretty much the same?
I remember my fixation on like long flowy hair. It was such a, because like in my family at least, like my mom's Chinese, and so she has straight hair. And I looked at all my cousins, my family members, and I'm like, wow, like that's what I want. And I went to Chinese school as well. So I think for me, it was a little bit different in terms of like, I do recognize that I'm half white and tall. And so I had these things, but then because I went to Chinese school and everyone around me, like my family, my friends, they were all fully local. And so for me, it was like, I want to fit in.
Yeah.
So then my beauty ideal became like, I wanted to be more petite and I wanted long straight hair. And I just didn't want to stand out in a crowd. I wanted to look like the people around me who I loved and I spent time with. So that was where it was, I guess, slightly different for me is I just really wanted to look like everyone else.
No, I think, and that's like a thing I've seen a lot, like online, and people talk about how like when they were growing up, it was these things that, like, you know, being tall, having the curly hair, and, you know, not quite looking like everybody else. It's now what makes you special, but back then it was like everything that you just wished you were.
You reject. Yeah. Because I think kids can be mean when they see something they don't
know. Yeah, even I saw online like some girls that had like really big lips. They were like, I was bullied my whole life because of this, and now y'all are getting lip fillers. Like, what is up with the world?
Yeah, that's really just what the media is doing. It's what they decide is beautiful, and then we all just buy into that.
Yeah, we all just shape ourselves to look like that.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. What about you?
For me, it's a little bit different because I was diagnosed with psoriasis at the age of 14.
Okay, you're quite young.
So for me, it's more of skin texture. So you see the women on the magazine, they all have really, really smooth skin. And they actually edited it out, right?
Yeah.
So I was obsessed of the idea of having smooth skin, nice skin. And I think at the same time, it was very difficult for me was because when you were diagnosed with psoriasis, you're supposed to go through like these certain types of treatments and everything. And living in Southeast Asia, you're open to other alternative medications as well. So I was trying on a lot of things, and my mom specifically, she was really, really anxious looking at my skin. I think it also came from the fixation on like, oh, my daughter should look a certain way. And for me to go through that, I felt that like, you know, I mean, as much as I know that she loved me, really, really a lot.
And probably she just wanted to protect you from ever being hurt by somebody else's words.
Yes, but as you grew up, when you reflect on that journey, you realize that, hey, I think to a certain level, the source of self-rejection also came from her fixation on smooth skin, of course mine as well.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's a little sad when you think about it because, you know, different skin textures are so normal.
Yeah.
Different skin colors are so normal. But we were not even exposed to it when we were younger, and hence the reason why I was so upset. You know, like the moment I came back from school, the moment I took off my shirt, I was like, red dots on my skin.
And I mean, like, now, like, you know, one of the biggest celebrities in the world is like Kim Kardashian. She has psoriasis, you know, and like, it's crazy how like she is like the hottest woman in the world, and she has the exact same condition as you. And she probably felt the same way that you did when she was growing up, but because it wasn't spoken about, because nobody was talking about it, nobody was advocating for it, and because we didn't have the knowledge at that time that what we're seeing on TV is edited. Now we know. Back then we had no idea. I thought people looked like that. Like
I thought people looked like that too.
Yeah.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
But they don't. Even recently I saw on TikTok people were showing how they edited their faces on Instagram.
It's so scary.
And I was like, wait a minute. Like, I always feel like, I mean, I think I don't know if you guys ever use like filters on your Insta story, but like that like messes with my brain like crazy. Because I'm like, wait, when I take the filter off, I'm like, oh my God, no way.
It's such a huge difference.
It's a huge difference. But it's like subtle enough that it does look like you. But
you don't notice when you're recording it actually. It's only when you go like off on, you're like, eh. Why is this, you know, making my nose smaller and making my eyes bigger and making, you know,
and making my lips
the whole thing
like, thicker, like all those things. Like, you don't realize how it like subtly like manipulates the way you feel about yourself for sure. Even for me, when I was growing up, I didn't really like, I felt here and there that I wished I had like lighter skin, but that was not what my biggest issue was. I always just hated my nose. I was like, I just want a small nose. Like, my nose is so big. I hate this. But I think I was lucky because also my parents, like my mom and my dad, they were just like obsessed with me and my sister. So they're like, you guys are so pretty. I've never seen girls prettier. Like, I love that. So we never had like it coming from our parents, but it would be probably coming from like, someone saying something to you, a little comment. And for me, it was also because I was a dancer. So it was, my issue was not so much with beauty, but it was with my body. Is it trying to fit my body into a ballerina's body when I have like big boobs and I have hips, and that ain't a ballerina's body. And so that was more of where I felt that. And how do you guys think that now that things are changing? Like how has it made you feel, like seeing things change? Like I almost feel a bit jealous that I wish that, when when we were young, Rihanna was really skinny, and then at one point Rihanna was like, she was like thick, and she looked, and everybody embraced that, and I was like, if I was 12 and I saw Rihanna like this, I would be okay, now I can embrace my body. But I never saw anybody that looked like me at that time. How does it make you guys feel?
It feels nice to finally see representation, especially being like dark-skinned Indian on like, you never see representation, for like South Indian women on TV. It's always like the Bollywood side or like North Indian.
Or North Indian.
Yeah, it's always just that. So I guess now, like finally being able to see representation online, it like changed my confidence so much, because like now I know how I can style myself, what makeup looks good on me, or like just feeling myself in general, like it's so nice that I can like finally do that now, instead of like before when I'm like constantly needing to like wear a foundation that was like 10 shades lighter.
Yeah, exactly. And finding the shades for you, that was just always, and I remember my mom would be like, no, we can't buy from there. They don't make it for us. And I was like, huh? But there's so many of us in the world. Like, why don't they make makeup for us?
See, like, kids think of these things like, it's so innocent. It just makes sense to us that we need to have this representation, but we don't. And we just, like, accept it.
Yeah, definitely. I just think that this whole, like, the way things are changing is very nice. I just wish it had come earlier. Why do you guys think it didn't, though?
I think it's because everyone just bought into the ideal of a Eurocentric beauty standard, because everyone has for so long just like followed the ways of the Westerners. Everything whatever they decide is beautiful, we just follow only. But I think now that people are becoming more bold, like everyone's just like, they set their own standards for themselves, and obviously the beauty industry itself had to accommodate to that. So they have to be diverse, they have to be inclusive.
Media used to also be very exclusive. There was only magazines, and there were only, people you see on TV. There wasn't social media.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think like, there's a lot to be said about social media and the negative aspects of it, of course. But I think what really changed my perception of myself and like sort of helped me build my self-esteem and my confidence is just, there are so many people on social media, and like you really choose who you follow, and you can choose people who look like you, who maybe not just look like you, but they talk about these things. They talk about how they post a photo of themselves without retouching or without makeup, and you see that like other people break out. Other people have texture on their skin. Other people have, crazy curly hair. And like, it's not just this one type, which I think was so limited if you're just looking at magazines.
That's so true. It's that it was one type that we were seeing from one source, and we didn't have this multitude of sources. And also I think that, this change, it also is an internal thing, because like, I realized that I can look at all of you girls and I'm just like, damn, I'm surrounded by some pretty girls right now. And I have like no issues saying that, no issues seeing it and all that. But sometimes when I see other people who look like me or have my body type, or I see pictures of myself, it's hard for me to have that same mindset and that internal change. I feel like it's also still changing. It doesn't like happen overnight. And do you guys feel the same way?
Yeah. We are our own worst critics at the end of the day. It's so easy for us to just be like, you're so beautiful, you're so great.
Like irrecoverably.
Yeah, you don't even have to think twice about it when you're giving Sorry, when you're giving, it's okay. When you give a compliment to someone, you don't even think twice about it. But like just looking at yourself in the mirror, you're just like, is this nice? Yeah, like you're constantly. It's very easy to find things that you hate about yourself than things that you like about yourself.
Yep.
100%. It's like when you just said that you were insecure about your nose, and I'm like looking at you, and I'm like,
I don't see it.
That's a nice nose.
But that's exactly what it is, right? It's like, I saw somebody's story the other day talking about how they were like so insecure about their smile. And then in the next story, she was like, it's so weird to me, so many people are responding saying like, your smile is what I remember the most about you because you're so warm and you're so all of this. And that's how I viewed this person as well. So it's like, I think to other people, sometimes it's crazy. Like, we just can't even imagine the things that other people in our lives are insecure about because we don't see them that way.
Yeah, and I think that, please go ahead.
Funny story.
Yes.
I just had this conversation with my quite a close circle of friends the other day. So usually, once in a while, we'll gather around and we play mahjong, right? So at that point of time, my skin was still quite inflamed and it was very flaky. And I told them like, it's not like I think that you guys would judge me for wearing whatever that I want. It's just that sometimes when we gather around and play mahjong, if I wear short sleeve, my flakes will fall on the table and I feel very self-conscious about it. And then they were just looking at me like, dude, we don't even notice anything about that you mentioned. Like they told me like, why are you so hard on yourself? And they made me cry because I feel like, like, we are really focused on our negative traits or
100%.
like we really emphasize it 100,000 times in our head, where else other people, they don't even realize it. And I think that is applicable to a lot of situations in, specifically for ladies. We really like
we fixate on the thing we don't like about ourselves, and when we look in the mirror, it's all we can see. Literally, you can look so beautiful, and all you can see is like,
that one thing
that I don't like about myself. And I realized that the way we perceive ourselves is not how other people perceive us at all, not even a little bit, because the ease we have in finding other people beautiful is the ease that they have in finding us beautiful. Which is just like, it's almost, I just try to remember that because I'm like, okay, I feel a bit insecure in this dress, but I'm just going to do it anyway. I'm going to wear it anyway. And then when your friends compliment you, you're like, oh, actually, I was like really shy.
It was just in my head,
It's like, I wasn't going to do it, but thanks, guys. And like, another thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about is that like, I was really thinking a lot about this episode because like, we're having these conversations. This is not the first conversation about beauty, and it's been ongoing for so many years. The way we feel about the way we look has affected so many people so intensely. But the fact is, we are born with the way we look. We didn't do anything. Maybe we touched it up with some makeup, but this is something we have absolutely no control over, but yet we are valued the most for it. And why do you think that is? It's literally like, it's like if you're like genetically blessed. And like, that's it. And yet it is such a, it's a thing that affects us so deeply.
I think maybe just because it's the first thing people see.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you don't meet someone, but you can scroll through their Instagram and look at their photos or, whatever it is. Like, that's the first thing people see, right? If you don't have to open your mouth. None of that. So I think that's probably why it's been put on this pedestal where it's like the most important thing. But I always think about the fact that someone's really pretty, but if they open their mouth and they're a bitch.
Oh my God.
Like, how quickly does that change your perception?
In a second.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think about that a lot.
100%. 100%.
I think things like that have, like what you said, like the moment they open their mouth, like that made me just realize that like beauty is like so much more than what you see on the surface. And like, I think with social media that has really, really helped because like people are more opinionated than they need to be also sometimes, So like they say things, they could be like the most beautiful person, but when they open their mouth and the things that come out of it, it just I can't even look at the person in the same light anymore.
We won't say the name, but there's a specific beauty queen in Malaysia that has a lot of negative things to say.
I had her in mind when I was
without opening her mouth, I was like, wow, she's so
Stunning.
beautiful, stunning, tall, her face, like she's blessed, but the minute that woman starts typing or talking, I'm just like, whoa, this is not pretty.
Yeah.
This
And
is
it-
ugly.
But we can't deny that people are more forgiving towards people that look
Yeah,
good.
exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly. It's just like the whole thing with Ted Bundy, you know, they were like, yeah, like, there's no way he's a killer because he's so cute.
Yeah.
When he literally was having sex with dead bodies.
Oh my god! Now you put it that way.
Like,
Yeah,
it's just,
yeah.
it's pretty privileged and people know it, you know.
Yes.
And they excuse everyone else's behavior just because of the way that they look.
Yeah.
And other people who don't fit the mold, they're more susceptible. This is just the same thing like Indian people are like, you know, oh yeah, they're gonna like be stereotyped as like people who commit crime just
Yeah.
because they look a certain way or like
Yeah.
dark skin, things like that, you know. It's the
Yeah,
same
and
thing.
even like within like the Indian community itself, there is so much colorism.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy. Like
Yeah.
if you are fairer than the person you are dating, it's already something that like maybe like it's not okay. Like if your parents are more traditional, they will be like, you shouldn't date someone so dark.
Yeah.
Then your kids will be dark. Then how is that?
Yeah.
But dark skin is so beautiful. I find it beautiful. The way white eyeliner looks on dark skin, oh my god. But it's unfortunate when the groups of people they also perpetuate this standard. Like even my grandma, like she grew up in like a small town all that, and she would like talk a lot about like whitening cream, like you were saying earlier. And I hate that. Like I absolutely hate that. Like why do we need to look lighter? Because on the other side of the world, people are using tanning cream so that they look darker. Like
Yeah.
why? It's like no. It's almost like we came to the point where we just seek to be the opposite of what we are. And the thing is that both parties find that other thing more attractive than the people who have
Yeah,
it.
but that's the thing. On the other side of the world, even though they want to be tan, they don't want to be dark.
True.
They just
True,
want to look like
very
they've been
true.
in the sun, you know,
Yeah.
that's it. Where else for over here, we've been so oppressed that we just can constantly think like that's what we want. That's what we need to have.
Yeah.
The other day I saw this bridal dress. It was being modeled by a dark-skinned woman. Like really dark. And it was so beautiful. And it just hit me that why haven't I seen this in Malaysia? We have so many dark-skinned
Yeah.
people. But it was so beautiful.
Yeah.
I
Completely.
still remember.
No, sometimes
until
you
now.
even see like Indian clothes being modeled by non-Indian people, and you're just like,
Every festival that we have, it's all,
yeah. Oh god. Oh god.
Oh, it was so triggering.
You take my culture, you take my music, you take my clothes, but you don't want me. Why? I don't understand. Their excuse for it just being not a Deepavali ad, okay?
It doesn't
so
matter.
what?
It doesn't have to be a Deepavali
Yeah.
ad for it to be cultural
Yeah,
appropriation.
but that is because they've already rejected us and reject what we have to bring to the table. They don't want it. They just want what they want, but they want to cherry pick parts of our culture.
pick and
Can you
choose.
imagine what goes on in their head when that
No,
people,
absolutely nothing.
when
Yeah.
those people
Absolutely
make
nothing
that
going on.
decision?
It's not a small production, you know.
It's a huge one.
They've probably
And the
needed.
actors were famous people.
That was very disappointing. I was so disappointed because, like, the lead, she is someone who I have looked up to from like
Yeah.
a child. Me and my sister were talking about this last time. Like, she's such a prominent figure, and like, she's not skinny, and she's never been like the skinniest person also, and she completely embraces it.
Doesn't matter, yeah.
Yeah, and she's all about like, you know, just accepting yourself the way you are. So, what was that all about? And the fact that you can defend doing something like that.
Just accept I made a mistake, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think that the Food Panda ad was really nice. It just showed us like how in Malaysia, even though we are getting woker, we ain't woke yet. We ain't there yet. Because
I think
Go ahead.
well, something I'm thinking about a lot is like there's the urban culture and then there's the mass.
Yeah.
And I think urbanly we talk about a lot of these things and there's more awareness about a lot of these things, but I go to shoot sometimes and it's like it's 50 steps behind you.
Yeah.
It's not 2 steps behind. It's
You would
50
think that
yeah.
they
it's
are
50 steps behind.
Yeah,
And it's
faham.
sometimes I look at the conversations that we're having in urban communities and urban circles, and that language is not even understood. You know,
Yeah.
some of the language that we use, and so I guess it's like bridging that is the hard part, right? You're talking about how your grandparents or sometimes grandparents will be like, oh, use whitening creams
Yeah.
and stuff. And it's the same as I think when I first started taking modeling shoots, I would show up and it's like me and a Russian model and I'm like, this is very weird. Like, why? And then, you know, now I know to not take shoots like that and I will ask. But when I first started, it was like this really strange thing. And, you know, I would show up and the makeup artist is tan skin Malay or something. And she would go on and on and on and on about like, baiknya, putihnya, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Really, really, why? You know?
Yeah.
And it sucks because like one time this makeup artist was doing my makeup and they always ask, oh, mix ke, blah, blah, blah. And then, you know, when I say, then they're like, oh, baiklah kau mix, at least mata tak sepit. And that broke my heart because it's like,
What the fuck?
that is my mother's eyes.
Yeah.
That is my family's eyes, my best
Exactly.
friends. You know, these are
Yeah.
people in my life that I've never looked at them and be like, oh, mata sepit. Like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't even think that
You wouldn't, yeah.
about somebody. And these are people that I love in my life who have that. And why is it valued that I don't have that? Why is that better?
Yeah.
You know, and that's something, and it's coming from someone who is Asian, who is,
It's
you
like
know,
internalized racism and I don't even know if it's racism, but that internalized like self-hate.
it's the stuff that they were brought up with as well, right? At
Yeah.
the end of the day, that makes them think like, oh, what I have is not good.
Yeah.
And I should be wanting that instead. But yeah, it's
I feel like if they don't have anything nice to say, just don't say it.
Exactly.
Especially
No,
if
but-
it's about something that I can't change.
the
No,
messed
this
up
is-
part is that they think that's a compliment to be said to them,
exactly.
which is the issue. That is the issue,
Yeah.
you know? And
Yeah.
I'm literally sitting there in the makeup chair like stunned that somebody
know
would
what to
say
say,
this, you
yeah.
know? And
Yeah.
And I think it's a very important thing for us to note that, you know, I think communities itself, we live in different bubbles. And in the urban area, we live in an urban
bubble.
Yeah.
bubble and we speak a different language. The sad thing is that in Malaysia is a little bit more difficult to kind of like influence the other bubble because of the language barrier.
And I think we
geographical
also just
barrier.
don't know. We don't know what it's
Exactly.
like when you
Yeah.
step out of KL.
Yeah, exactly. Like we
Exactly.
think that everyone is like thinks the same way we do or acts the same way that we do, but in reality, it's not like that. It's we are not the majority. The people who think the way that we do, we are not the majority. Actually, we just have access to education and the
No,
internet.
and exactly. We're all on the social platforms together. We're all on Twitter. We're all
Yeah.
on these places where
Yeah.
we learn and we
Yeah.
constantly change and
Yeah.
grow.
And the issue is that these online spaces now with algorithm and such, you see your own bubble. Full stop, the
Exactly.
end.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
never
full
see
stop, the
anything
end.
beyond
Further
your
than that,
bubble,
yeah.
which is why like sometimes when I'm looking at, you know, the infographics and all these things, you know, talking about colorism, talking about racism, talking about cultural appropriation, they're all in English.
Yes, that's true.
And that's where I always feel at least the major issue comes from is that the people who maybe still have not seen these things, they're not going to be reading it in this language.
Yeah, and I guess that's why it needs to trickle down into like the education system.
Yes.
Like, why don't they teach this in moral class? You know, why do we teach like that?
Why do you have to memorize 20-something?
36 nilai.
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
36.
No, and also like it's also in that moral class. It's like yes, the Chinese lady marries the Chinese man, and the Malay lady marries the Indian man. Like,
Oh, dear.
they just perpetuate all of those things that we want to change, and we want to burst it open and let people know that as you are is fine, who you want to date is fine, who you are is fine, everything is fine.
Yeah, but it's already in our textbook itself.
That's the
Like that's
problem.
that's the images that we're seeing. Like Indian marry Indian, Chinese marry Chinese, Malay marry Malay. Like we cannot. There's no cross culturing happening at all.
And we call ourselves like one Malaysia. That's the problem. But also what you were saying earlier, that there's a rule that one of my friend told me when I was in uni, and I will never forget it. She's like, never say something to someone that they cannot change in 30 seconds.
Yes.
If I look at you and I see your earrings out of place, I'll tell you that. But if I have a big pimple on my face, please don't point it
Yeah,
out. I
exactly.
know, I can't pop
you
it
think
right
I
now.
don't know there's something that I'm insecure about on my face?
I wanna
Like
share
why?
this. I want to share this. I used to date a guy.
Oh
And he
god.
asked me, why do you have this skin condition?
Why? Yeah.
Oh, I was like,
I don't know.
you mean like if you told me this like maybe 10 years before this, maybe I'll cry. I was just like, I'm gonna dump your ass in 2 days.
Yes.
And I did.
What do you mean? Why do you?
What do you mean why? Why do I have this skin condition? Excuse me?
I don't know. Ask God.
Wow. It's okay,
Blood
faham.
boiling.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like, you should. I don't think like why is it any of your business anyway? You know why? You can ask someone like, why do you have acne? I don't know.
You
If
think
I
I
knew,
choose?
I wouldn't
Yeah,
have
you think
it.
I choose this?
Yeah.
But was your, if you don't mind me asking, was this your psoriasis something that was constantly pointed out to you for a lot of your life?
I would say I'm very fortunate that I'm surrounded by a lot of kind people and they are all very understanding. And I think I'm also quite assertive when it comes to drawing boundaries. But of course, when you go out to the public, you know, in public's eyes, it's a little bit different. You will still feel very anxious. You will still feel like, oh, I need to explain again. Oh, this is a skin condition. This is not contagious. It's a little sad because even though it is made clear that it's not contagious, but like
People
for
still
example,
treat it like it is.
no, for example, it's not people, but it's my family,
Oh.
my close family, not my immediate family, but my cousins. There was this incident where I was supposed to go to my cousin's place to stay over, and her parents say, "Oh, it's okay, don't come. You don't have to go there because I don't want your skin to be like Rocky's." So I'm just like, I think I was like 16. Yeah, it was quite hurtful because like when I thought about it right now, it really doesn't really affect me, but there's a reason why I remember, because it left a mark. It's hurtful for a teenager, and there was once I was
Especially at that age.
exactly.
Yeah.
And then there was once I was in a hot spring. It's a pond, you know. I was sitting there, just enjoying myself, and there's this uncle there. He was like, "Oh, if your skin is like that, don't come to places like this."
What?
I was 18. I was like,
I just feel like also at that age, you don't know how to handle things like that. You know, you just kind of crumble under this comment because
Yeah, but that's also
horrible.
because I think like growing up we were just taught to like it's okay lah, respect your elders, you cannot say anything.
keep
just
quiet.
keep quiet.
Just quiet.
Like, let them say lah, it's fine. So we also just like bottle it up and just like
No, and I also think the older generation, they were not taught the way we are to not comment on other
Yeah.
people's bodies. There have been times
for
I've
them
gone,
it's like we have an opinion on everything and we can say
and we can say, there have been times I've gone somewhere, they're like, oh, last time you thin, now you fat.
Oh yeah lah. Yeah.
I'm like, yes,
This is such a normalized thing in
Yeah.
our culture.
Yeah.
It's you just point out when people gain weight, you point out when people lose weight, and like
And
both
when
is
you
a
lose
problem.
weight,
Both is a problem.
yeah, but when you lose weight, it's like, oh, so nice, you lost weight already.
You look so good, or you look so much weight.
It's not like I've been depressed and not eating at home lah. That one all doesn't matter.
Unless I overwork, I haven't had time.
It doesn't matter. My mental health doesn't matter as long as I look
long as you're
good.
skinny.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just, it sucks. That sucks.
It really does.
But at least one thing I do feel good of is at least like there are people like us, and that things are changing. And even if it hasn't trickled down all the way, hopefully that it will. And this new generation of children that we will have will be raised with that empathy, because children learn from their parents. And a child, when they don't know and they see something different, they're gonna ask like, what is that? But instead of being like, don't ask, you can be like, no, ask them, but ask them in a way that's kind of if somebody had come to you and be like, oh, actually, what happened to your skin?
Yeah,
And
like
ask
ask in a way that's educational.
I'm curious. I'm not asking you because I'm disgusted.
Yeah.
I'm asking you because I want to know, and,
Yeah.
and I'm coming to you from a place of curiosity and even love. Then when you answer the question, you won't feel attacked.
Yeah.
And I think that's what really sucks, is when you feel attacked.
I think what people don't pay attention to is that the intention of question that they ask. Sometimes you come from a space you wanting to understand, wanting to know what's going on, but there are a lot of people coming from the space of fear and judgment, and it's not like it's the wrong thing. It's more of like, that if people don't know what's going on, they are more likely to be fearful of something they don't understand.
Yeah.
And for me, is that I always tell myself my job is to bridge the gap.
Yeah.
Like, I will just smile at the person. I'm like, hey, it's okay. This is psoriasis. It's not contagious, but it gets a little bit tiring sometimes. And hence the
Keep
reason why
repeating.
I started the project. I want to talk about it. Let's all talk about it because it's so normal.
Yeah.
I didn't even notice it's so normal until I started my project. I started talking about it. So I was like, oh.
Yeah, I had one of my best friends in uni. He also had psoriasis, a skin condition. I remember he would have like the flakes on his thing, and I
Shoulder.
would just wipe it off for him, like, whatever. He would go, it's gross. I'd be like, it's not
Oh
gross.
my god, there was
whatever.
this friend, well not really friend, this person I knew who was in a Grab and took a video of this Grab driver with like flakes on his shoulder. And instead, it could be anything, but instead of like telling him, he posted it on his story and like, he was talking like smack about it, basically. So I called him out for it, and I'm like, you don't know what this person has. If you're really disgusted,
It doesn't even touch you.
yeah,
It's like a friend.
exactly.
affect
If
you.
it really affects you, just
out
be
of the
like,
Grab.
or just tell him like, hey, maybe there's like whatever on your shoulders, but like you don't have to tell him in a way that's like making you disgusted. It's like, I'm paying for this service, blah blah blah, and I'm like,
This is why people like us, we are afraid to go out. This is why we feel
It's
anxious.
so-
And this is why sometimes we feel disgusted about ourselves. When you wake up in the morning,
Yeah.
you see the flakes on the bed. Because you know that it's not normal. For normal people, it's not normal. It's not supposed to be there.
What is normal?
What is
I really don't
But
think
it,
that.
it takes a long time for you to start questioning
Yeah.
what's normal. It took me 25 years.
Yeah.
It took me to like start this conversation to normalize what's normal. Let's redefine what's normal.
I think the screwed up part is the fact that normal for so long is what we see in magazines.
Yes.
And that is like the furthest thing from normal.
There's-
Because there is a team of people to make that one person look good. And then
And they don't-
afterwards, there's editing.
Yeah, exactly.
So first it's a team and then it's post-editing and all these things. And then we take whatever that image is and that's normal.
Yeah.
And then we compare ourselves to that. But like,
Yeah. You know, even
It's
recently,
not.
one of my friends, I won't go into detail about what company or but she did a shoot and I saw the pictures and I was like, what the fuck? Why did they edit you? I was like, what? I was like, you don't look like that. I was like, not that you don't look good. I was like, you look good. But that's not your arms, like that's not your face. Why did they do that? She was like, I know, I don't really get it. I was like, and it bothered me for days. I kept thinking about it. I was like, I don't know if you're thinking about this, but I'm thinking about it, and I don't know why they did that to you. Why did they lighten your skin? She's like, Apshi, it's okay. I was like, no, it's not okay. Like you look so good. Why would they change you? And if they didn't want you, they should have found someone who looked like that.
Yes,
And I
exactly. This is the same reason why I dropped out of modeling for a long time. Because I used to model here and there back then. And then recently I did it again. And they did the same thing to me.
Yeah, I remember seeing it. On
Yeah, and I
social
was
media.
so fucking pissed. Like, you lighten my skin color, that's one. You change my eye shape, and you change the way my nose looks. If you really didn't...
Everything that is you, they changed.
Yeah. And I don't understand. If you really wanted someone to fit your Eurocentric beauty standards, get someone who looks like that. Don't ask me to do it. It really morphed my perception growing up, like seeing things like this, you know. It morphed the way that I'm supposed to look at myself. And the way that you are trying to sell your brand, claiming it to be inclusive and diverse, and then doing things like that. So what I found out was that the photographer edited the pictures and I wasn't so mad about it. Like, I can tell that, like, you know, my skin's a bit lighter, but it doesn't look too off. And after the photographer edited, there was this team, the post-production team, re-edited the pictures.
It's not like just a touch-up, like let's like close the pores. You know, small things is okay.
No,
Maybe
but
you don't love it, but it's okay lah.
I can just close an eye to things like that. Because I get it, it's a makeup brand. But the fact that you had to make my nose smaller, like how...
I think when it comes to changing face features,
how is that going to sell your makeup brand? Tell me. Like, if it's a foundation, what is my nose going to do with it? You're talking about my skin color.
That is so true.
I don't
And that they
understand.
lighten your skin. And how is that going to show that you make a shade of foundation for someone who's your skin color?
Yeah.
It's very, very upsetting. That then, I like how things are getting retouched, but when this happened to my friend, I mean, I think I was more upset than she was, but because I think I was disappointed. I thought we had come to a point where this was done. We're done with this.
You would
but we're
think
not.
so. You would think so, but it really isn't. And all these brands like claiming to be diverse and all that. I honestly feel like they just picked me, a dark-skinned Indian woman, to be their diversity ticket out of anything.
Yeah.
And I hate that
Yeah,
because
of
it makes me
course.
feel like shit. Like, why? If you really want someone to represent your brand and represent what you stand for, do it right. Don't just do it in the name of saying that I'm doing it.
I think that's the problem though nowadays is that they like to throw the word inclusivity, but only like this is something also I want to talk about because they inclusive to that certain degree that is still acceptable. Like even you know when they picked that model, what's her Winnie Harlow? Is that the name? You know, she has the
Vitiligo.
yeah, vitiligo. She's still extremely gorgeous. Like she's a beautiful woman.
And she's skinny.
And she's skinny and she's tall. She's a model and she has a skin condition. She's not just a person who has a skin condition. Nothing wrong with it. It's nice to see her there.
Yeah.
But I do still believe that when they pick and choose people for their diversity, they pick people who still are acceptable in that bracket.
Maybe they don't fit every single thing, but
Yeah,
like
maybe they're darker, maybe they have a skin condition, maybe they have a bit of acne, maybe they have like acceptable stretch marks, but like that's it. It doesn't kind of push it that you actually really see human bodies.
Yeah.
Because you do still see this perfection, but do you think that is also okay, or do you think it's not okay at all? Because it is still selling a fantasy.
I don't know.
I also don't know.
Personally wouldn't agree to that.
Yeah.
I think there should be more people that are more courageous and bold in terms of pushing different boundaries. We need more people like that.
Yeah.
We need more people to initiate conversations that matter. We need more people to put out things that really is the representation of the mass public because we are still not seeing it. Yes, it's transitioning. The change is good. We are observing it, but it's not going fast enough. There are still people like community like us with skin condition. You know, there are so many people dealing with self-hatred They're depressed. They're suicidal because they don't find themselves fit in any parts of the world.
Yeah.
So we don't have space for ourselves. Like I would just want to exist as I am. Get what I mean? I think people just want to exist as they are. Don't ask me to change anything about myself. My nose is okay. My skin color is okay.
Yeah.
My skin texture is okay. Just let me be. But why is it so hard to let people be themselves?
Yeah.
That's the problem. You know?
You nailed it. That is
Right?
exactly the problem.
Like my mom was like, oh, it's okay. If you don't want to get married, it's fine. But after that, he also asked, you're already 28. You want to do something about it? Like she's so worried that I can't get married. I'm like, Mom, I have never had this thought until you told me this. I have never had this kind of rejection in my head until you tell me all this.
Yeah.
Like I only realized it after a while, you know? I was like, the way that I think about myself comes a lot from the people around me.
100%.
And especially my mother. I mean, I love her. She's amazing.
Of course,
But she also carries the cultural and social norms that she has in her head that she also succumbed to.
And you can feel for her. You know,
I feel for her so much.
If she's projecting it onto you, she's telling you this because she, in her own way, she's trying to protect you.
Yeah.
Yes.
But can you imagine how that they probably feel like all our parents, like, we are lucky that now we have the social media, but they didn't. This only, and once they kind of got through that 20s and 30s, which is like one of the, or even your teens, like these are the hardest time for you to kind of like,
Self-acceptance.
I'm going to accept who I am, I'm going to feel good in my skin.
And the worst thing is, she thinks I'm in so much pain because of my skin condition. But I told her, Mom, I'm okay. You know, I'm already reached a place where I'm happy. I've accepted it, and it gave me a huge purpose to exist in the world.
Yeah.
But she can't see that. She's like, you can't get married.
Like that's all your
Please,
purpose
I've done
is in.
so many guys.
Excuse me. No, I also want to tell you guys that, like, I was telling the girls earlier, like a year ago, I got this condition called chronic hives. So basically, it's like, I think probably like maybe like trauma from the pandemic and everything. My body is just going crazy, and your immune system just
Is acting
reacts.
up, yeah.
Yes.
And so my body, I had hives, like big hives here. If I would scratch my hand, it's like the lines are here. And that didn't bother me. The hives didn't bother me, but it was the medication that I had was on steroids and on antihistamines. And I'm a small person, so medication really affects my body. And within that time, it's like I was going through puberty. Like I gained weight, I had acne, I had like all this water retention. Even when we filmed the first season, I remember being like, I don't want to look at myself because I look so bad. Like I had all these thoughts, and I feel like I was just on the brink of really going down that, like, I fucking hate how I look. I don't want to go out. I don't want to leave my house. I was there, but then I realized, I was like, no, actually, your body is sick. Your body is healing, and you're not going to betray yourself like that. You're not going to do that to yourself, because that's exactly what I wanted to do. It's what I did to myself when I was 12, 13, but this time I was like, no. And I was like, I need to carry this forward to now where I'm not so sick anymore. I don't take any more medication. Like, you know, my skin has settled, my body has settled. And I need to carry that forward, that like it is a betrayal to yourself to do that to you, because the world can do it to you, but you shouldn't do it to yourself. And as much as like I do think the self-love conversation can get a little trite, but I also think that it is necessary. And the minute I told myself that, enough, you're not fucking doing this. If you don't want to look at yourself and say you're beautiful, just say it doesn't matter. And I think that finding that neutrality is also very, very important, but it's not easy. And I don't know why it's not easy. Why isn't it natural?
Because
to
the things
us?
that we consume on a daily basis is what we're being told is beautiful.
Yeah.
That's why it's so important, like you said, like we need to be able to see better representation, like no retouching, nothing, like to change the color and effects or whatever the fuck they want to do, fine, but don't change the way that I look. Don't change my skin, don't change my nose, nothing. Just leave it as it is.
Yeah. 100%. And I think that we just need to, like, self-love for some reason is radical, but I think we need to radically love ourselves in that way so we can change this narrative, because I fucking hate this narrative. Like, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of people not feeling good about themselves. I see my friends saying that they're ugly. I'm just like, shut up, you are not ugly. And not me saying it is not going to change that. But I wish we could just, it's easier said than done.
Yeah, like we said just now, it's so easy for us to love people and give compliments to people, but we cannot see that for ourselves, kind.
I think it's also because we are going against a huge part of ourselves that are already set when we grow up.
Unlearning.
Unlearning.
Yeah.
It takes a long time. Long time.
So for you guys, like, how did you guys come to the point now that, or if this is still your journey to sort of loving yourself? Like, what changed it for you? What kind of was that trigger? Like, you know what, I'm gonna stop, picking myself apart, and I'm gonna try at least to love myself.
You want to go first, Rocky? I feel like
Anyone?
you will have a lot to say.
Well, that was actually the hardest thing I've ever done. Yeah. Also, back in 2018, I started a project called Project Naked. So Project Naked is all about me coming out, talking about, I have psoriasis. And not a lot of people don't know, but it took me 10 years plus to say that I have psoriasis. And I think people keep asking me like, why? Like, what made you do that? But I think at that point of time, I was in a very bad place mentally. I think I was having frequent panic and anxiety attack. And I was in a space where I just felt so hopeless and helpless. I didn't know what to do. But one thing that it just kept coming to me, I just really want to be myself. I just really want to just be myself and live in my own truth. And I think right now, looking back, I think for a lot of people, that is actually the hardest thing to do, just to be themselves, say what they mean, say what they want, to express themselves authentically. So, but at the same time, having done that for like a few years after, I thought that I've already, overcome the self-rejection or self-hatred until in 2019, where I went through a very interesting dating experience. It made me realize how much I hated myself still. And that realization, it was the kind of realization where I was literally like, my knees were on the floor and I was crying. I was just like, it's very overwhelming. But it has also taught me that, hey, just because you know that, just because you are able to live in your truth doesn't mean that you stop rejecting yourself. And I think what people don't know is that when you work through this, when you go through the process of healing and letting go a lot of like old perceptions on yourself, it comes in so many levels.
It's not one day.
It's not one day. It takes years. And one of the initiation of the whole process is that you see people, people are different, but people are living their life. You see them taking space.
Unapologetic.
Yes. That is actually a healing observation for a lot of people. The start of the journey for a lot of people. And I think for me, what I realized is that I'm so privileged to be able to be that person for people with skin condition. And that, I think that itself, people always say, I do so much for the community, but actually having known that they gave me a reason to keep living. And I honestly think that if I didn't start that project at that point of time, I don't know where I would be right now. I honestly don't know where I would be.
Yeah. And we said this in the last episode, because in one of the episodes we talked to this guy who he had lost his leg in an accident, and he was saying how like he's a jokester. He was joking the whole time. I was literally couldn't stop laughing. And he was like the way he could joke about himself, and you can see that he has accepted what has happened to him. And I was saying, I was like, the way that you love yourself teaches other people to love you, and the way you accept who you are, it makes other people comfortable with you. Because I think when you are uncomfortable and I'm sitting and I keep pulling my shirt, and
you can sense it.
And I think that's amazing, because you telling me this now, I wouldn't be able to tell. You're so confident, so bubbly. I would have had no idea.
Even my closest friends, they were very surprised as well. So I agree with you. Like, you giving permission to yourself to be yourself, you're also giving permission for other people to be themselves. And that essentially is, I think for me, is the essence of human interaction. Because that is actually, you are giving liberation for people and yourself, for a space for them to express themselves. I think that's a very precious thing to have between people.
Between people,
I think my self-love journey is still going, but
I don't think it's ever gonna end.
I don't think so either. But like, I don't know. Growing up was a very, I feel now when I look at myself like back then and look at myself now, I look like two completely different people. And like, so like there was this like thing going around on TikTok, when they compare like your pre-puberty and then like after, and I posted it, And someone was like, that's not you, that's your sister. Like, in the sense, like, they don't believe that it's me. Like, it can't be you. And, like, that made me think, like, wow, like, me back then, I would have just accepted that and just been like, yeah, like, I know I look terrible. But just, I had to completely, like, I don't think that my journey was, like, I'm realizing, I'm coming out and things like that. It was very hard because I grew up with, like, an eating disorder. I was anorexic and I was bulimic. So until I started fitting the mold of what they wanted me to look like, I think that's when I started being like, oh yeah, like maybe I'm pretty, maybe I look good, maybe. Because all my friends were very small. And I don't have a small figure, I have big boobs and I have a big ass hip. So it's not going, clothes don't fit on me the way that I want them to fit on me. So I think when I was able to like, I guess, visualize the world in a very different light and like seeing different body types, especially when I was in uni and like seeing people just be unapologetically themselves. And like, you know how people are in uni or like when you're going out and you're drunk in the club and like girls are like, oh my God, you're so fucking beautiful. I love the way you look, you know? It's how they are. And like, things like that made me be like, okay, like I need to start like appreciating what I have even more. And like, I guess for me, I changed the way that I look in the sense that like my piercings, my tattoos, like being able to decorate my body the way that I want it, like it, I guess, helped people or allowed people to start appreciating the things on my body rather than my body per se, except for when, you know, like the men are always like, oh yeah, like your boobs are so nice. Things like that. I really, things like that make me not want to have the chest that I have. Like,
Same,
yes.
girl.
yeah, like until now, like my goal would be just to get a breast reduction so I don't have to deal with the back pains and so I don't have to deal with people constantly staring at me.
You don't understand how much I feel you in this moment.
Yeah.
Just the other day, I got into the lift with my mom, and this wasn't even a guy, this was a woman, and I was on the phone and she was just like saying something to my mother, and I was like, I got off the phone, she's like, your breasts are amazing, and I was like,
What? The thing is, people think that's a compliment.
I was like, yeah, I was like, it's a good bra.
Yeah. It makes me very uncomfortable.
I just feel like I want to disappear into a hole when
because
you just comment on it.
I
like
honestly
that.
feel like when I walk into the room, the first thing that people see is my boobs because it walks in before me, you know.
It'd be like that.
Yeah, and like I've accepted it already, but the way that people make it seem is just like they sexualize my body so much, and I really hate it. So like,
but that's a struggle when you're growing up. You know, you from the age of 12, you're not a girl, you're a woman because your tits are big.
Yeah.
But you're a child. Like I didn't even know. At first I wouldn't wear a bra, and my mom would be like, "What? You need to wear a bra?" And I didn't realize that walking out into the streets with your boobs bouncing at that age, people are not going to look at your face and know you're a child. They're going to look at your body and assume you're a woman, and they will treat you as such. And and you know that if your mom or whoever is trying to protect you, you're trying to maintain your innocence, but it gets lost so fast just because your body has developed in a certain way.
And then you had to learn that.
You have to learn that, exactly.
Yeah, and the way that we learn it, exactly. It's very traumatizing, you know. Even now these days, so like walking out into the streets and like you hear men catcalling you and you tell them off and they come after you.
Oh my God, yes.
That's really fucking scary.
Yeah.
How are we supposed to protect ourselves? You know, so like my point is like things like this, you know, like growing up, like it was very difficult for me to just sway my perception of how I'm going to love myself and things like that. But I really think like my tattoos and my piercing helped because it made me grow this like personality of becoming, I wouldn't say bitchy, but like people
It
think
made you feel more confident.
yeah, no, people are scared of me. And I'm appreciative of that in a way because I don't want people to come and talk to me.
To feel so open.
Yeah, like I don't want to be vulnerable in front of you. And then when they meet me and talk to me and they're like, oh my God, you're so, like the energy you give off is completely different from like the person that you actually are. Things like that help me feel better.
But you do that to protect yourself.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't have needed to do that if I wasn't so traumatized with the way that people have interactions with me.
And I also feel like sometimes decorating your body in certain ways, even when I got my tattoo, I was like, whoa, why do I feel more like me? Adding something to myself.
Yeah.
And I think those kind of things are very interesting as you grow and you become the person you want to be one day.
Yeah.
That it's interesting how adding something brings you there.
Yeah, but in the perception of the older age, it's not like that. Like, how are you going to get a job? You have tattoos.
Number one question in the
My aunties have asked me, like, how are you going to get married? You have tattoos. I'm like, if he don't like my tattoos, don't get married to me lah. Who wants to marry you anyway?
And it's just tattoo, yeah?
Yeah,
Can you imagine me having a skin condition? It's something that I can't change, you know? I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I guess I'll stay single then.
Okay, let's stay single lah. Why would you want someone
Why would you want
exactly?
someone? Yeah.
If someone's not gonna love you for
As
everything
you are, yeah.
why would you want
And
to
the
be
thing
with
is,
them?
it's just like something like psoriasis, anybody can get it at any moment. And then, you're gonna not love me if that happens to me. No, you have to.
I just feel like society makes it seem like there's just one way to exist, but there's 8
Yeah.
billion people on Earth. So like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, that's what I always think about. It's like there's always, it's just people always make it seem like, oh, if you have tattoos, then this cannot, that cannot. If you have
Cannot
skin
marry,
condition, this
cannot-
cannot,
yeah.
that cannot. If this, then that. But there's 8 billion people on Earth. We don't all fucking look the same, and we don't all have the same preferences.
No.
You know, there are gonna be people who maybe don't want to get married to someone with tattoos. Okay, you do
fine,
you.
yeah.
But like,
and
those are not the
with
people I'll be
tattoos don't
into
wanna marry.
anyways.
Yeah.
So why exactly? So,
so
why
does
do I
it
have
matter?
to? Yeah.
Yeah.
So why do
does
you
it-
have to live your life by those standards when you don't give a fuck about
When
the
I don't
standards?
even know if that's going to be their standards or not.
Exactly.
Yeah. But what about you, Bae? How has your self-love journey kind of,
I was
developed over the years?
I was very, very insecure growing up, and I think it came down to the fact that I just never felt like I fit in. Just to give a little bit of context, because my dad is American and he left when I was 13, so I was raised pretty much by my mom, and so I was raised very Chinese, very Malaysian Chinese, and I went to local school and like all of these things, and so in that context, being mixed was not something that was desirable growing up. Now as a model, I'm like, what the fuck is going on all the time? But as a kid, that wasn't the experience. As a kid, it was like everyone else, they fit together. They look like each other, and there's a community aspect there that I felt it was really hard for me to break into, especially in primary school. I went to a Chinese school, and it was just it's hard to make friends. It was hard to feel like I could fit in, and so I always just wanted to be like petite, straight hair. And I rebonded my hair, and I hated my hair. And I think I only ever started wearing my hair down when I was 17.
Oh, wow.
And prior to that, it would always just be in a bun. So I didn't want people to look at it. And people, I think my hair was a really big insecurity, and my height was a really big insecurity, which is so stupid because that's stuff that like I get hired for now, which is, it's just like,
It's the grass is
which
always
is which is
greener.
the screwed up part, because like beauty standards are always changing, but then we run our lives like this shit matters so much.
Yep.
But in every decade it's a different beauty standard. Like, it was very in to be sickly, anorexic, thin in the
heroin
early
chic,
2000s.
yes.
And then now it's all about being thick and like all of that. And like, so what? Am I supposed to change my body type? Like, that's
now,
the part
now
to
I'm
me.
a BBL. Then
I
I'll take
think
it
like
out when
this
I
This course never ends.
Exactly,
Yeah.
which is, I think, like realizing that it changes every few years kind of let me let go of this like giving a fuck part of it, because what is the point of like keeping up? Like I can't change my body every couple of years. That's not how it works. But like with my hair, like I would never have my hair in a ponytail because when I was younger, like my mom just didn't know how to deal with curly hair because she had straight hair. So she would blow dry it and brush it. And if you have curly hair, you know that like you can't do that. My hair gets like this big and it's frizzy, and I would go to school, and this was, when I was in high school, was the era of Ask FM. Which like, that should not have been a thing for teenagers, because teenagers are so mean.
They're so fucking rude.
And I would get so many anonymous messages like,
Teenagers are very
they're
scary.
they're so mean.
They're so
like,
blunt, and especially giving them a platform to not know who you are.
anonymous.
And say,
It's the anonymous.
Anonymity.
There we go.
We
there
don't know how to say
We don't know how
words.
to say words here. I would have people be like, you should straighten your hair. It's so big. You're blocking the board, and like, just all this kind of thing.
So
like,
mean.
like
That's
like
so mean.
your hair is so ugly. Like, just people just say shit like that, and I really took it in. I was like, yeah, my hair is ugly. My hair is ugly, and I would just always be in a bun. I would never, I remember going for sleepovers at my friends' houses, and they would wake up in the morning, their hair just falls beautifully. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, I wake up and I gotta shower and I gotta, I didn't even know how to style it back then. So it's really just showering and putting it up so nobody looks at it, And similarly to you, I think going to uni was so transformative for me. Because I think when you're in school and everybody has to wear a uniform, the only thing that sets you apart is how you naturally look. Nobody's wearing makeup. Everybody's just, showing up. And then you compare because we're all wearing the same outfits, you know, and so it's very easy to compare yourself to other people. But then going to uni, and then I did design in school, so everybody in my course looked
crazy. Yeah.
It was like a party every day, you know. We show up and everybody looks like completely different, you know. We had girls who had shaved heads and girls with tattoos, girls with bright neon green hair, and everybody's style was so varied and diverse as well. And I think that experience made me realize like there's so many more ways to be beautiful and it wasn't really about looking beautiful, right?
It's just about how you feel.
It was how they carried themselves.
Yeah.
You know,
100%.
girls would walk into class with their shaved heads, and it's like their
the
tattoos and the
confidence.
earrings and the outfits, and they walk in with so much confidence. I'm like, I don't have that. Like, regardless of what I put myself in, I don't walk into a room and look like that because I don't feel like that about myself. And I think that whole experience made me realize that a bulk of it really is how you feel about yourself when you walk into a room. If you walk into a room and you're insecure and you know
people
you have
can sense it,
and you're like you said, you're you know. You're trying to make yourself invisible. You're trying to make yourself small. You're trying to make yourself invisible. That lends itself so much to how people perceive you, way more than like how you look or how you did your makeup that day. You know, because some people walk into a room and they just command the attention of it, and it doesn't matter what they look like or what they're wearing.
Back then, when I used to go to uni, I used to wake up at like 6 o'clock if I have an 8 o'clock class, just to put on a full face of makeup. And the day that I don't wear makeup, people are like, oh my God, Inosha, like, are you okay? Something wrong with you? Are you sick? Are you tired? And like, because...
I'm sick and tired of being asked these questions.
But yeah, like, you know, I think like, as I got older, I started wearing less and less makeup, especially during the pandemic, because I just got so tired. Like, what's the point, you know? It didn't, exactly. It didn't even make sense anymore at that point. And like, now when I go out, people don't even realize that I don't wear makeup. Like, people think that I actually am when I'm not. Like, now I am lah, but like, otherwise, you know, like, it really is just like you being comfortable in your skin. And that's the thing, the other thing now that I feel is an issue with like people constantly, like how like skincare now is becoming such a huge fucking thing already. And like, like smooth skin, no texture, no pores, things like that. Now that the makeup industry is like, I guess, not as prevalent as the skincare industry is now, like that's becoming a whole thing. Like, I want skin that's like porcelain, when I don't have porcelain skin.
I don't think anybody really does, you know?
But that's what's being
That's
put
what's
online.
being put out. Again, it's that same thing is that we are still trying to achieve an unattainable standard, even though it's more attainable now than it was
like,
before.
it's more natural. That's great, but there's still something.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy, babe, is that I love curly hair. Like, I always wished my hair looked like yours.
Same. I permed my hair when I was
Exactly,
younger.
people perm their hair.
I have to iron my hair.
Like that's the ridiculous part, right? Like now I go to shoots, people are like, oh my God, I love your hair. Is this your natural curl? Like that's all I get now.
But before,
but no,
it
it's
was
also you were like.
But how was I
ostracized you because of that reason?
Yeah, but it was also, I remember I had long hair up until I was 14, 15, and then it was always tied up, so obviously it didn't matter. And then one day I wanted to cut my hair short. I was just like, you know what, I want to cut my hair short. I went to 4 different salons who all turned me away because they took one look at my hair texture and they were like, short hair very ugly on you, and don't do. Then they refused to cut it for me. Oh no. Refuse. What in the hell? They were like, unless you want to rebond, you straighten, then I cut for you. And now I'm like, what the fuck? No.
Yeah.
You know, and very good hairstylist then if you don't know how to work.
And so I went home and I cut it myself. Then I went to a salon. Can you just like clean it up for me? And I looked fine.
Yeah,
like,
I'm sure you
But it was
did.
like this whole thing where it's like people just don't appreciate. And even now, like, you know, I say at some shoots, people are like, oh, I love your hair. But there are shoots where I show up and I speak Mandarin, I speak Malay. And a lot of people, when they see me, they don't know that.
Yeah.
And I let people believe that I don't speak
So you
for a
can-
while, so I can eavesdrop, you know?
Yeah.
Well, now people know lah if they watch this. But
What did you hear?
no, it's always all the time. I show up and I'm sitting in the makeup chair, and then there'll be someone in the back like saying in Malay or
Whatever
Mandarin
language,
or whatever,
yeah.
like, oh, her hair's so big, so dry. I never realized she was so big also because I'm tall. And I think people think I'm more petite than I actually am. And even though I'm on the slimmer side, I think growing up, I still towered over everybody.
Yeah.
You still feel like a bit of a giant.
big, yeah.
Because I was bigger than the girls and the boys, you know, like growing up. And so they'll be like, she's so much bigger than I thought. Her hair is so big and so dry, and like we should straighten it. Like, I don't know why she never reborn. Like, they'll be saying all this shit. And I'm just like listening, and I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
cool.
But I also realized that this curly hair like culture, it's like a lot of people feel the way you do. Even my mom just straightened her hair, and I keep telling her, "Don't do it. I love the curls." She's sitting right there. I was like, "Curl cream, curl shampoo, get that big hair." She's like, "No lah, just straighten." But I realized that for people with curly hair, this is like it's a thing.
And I say this a lot, but so many Malaysian people naturally have curly hair and they don't know it.
Yeah.
And they don't know
They
it.
think it's frizzy, but it's actually
Yeah,
curly.
they think it's frizzy, but all you need is to style it the right way, and like bam, you have beautiful curly hair. And they don't know because we're not taught, and hairstylists don't know how to deal with curly hair. And that's just, I cannot brain that, you know?
Yeah. And with this whole conversation, I think the one thing about beauty that we cannot deny is that tangibly, so if you are more beautiful, life is easier. That's just a fact.
Yeah, pretty privilege exists.
It's real.
Yeah.
If I remembered for so long during the pandemic, I wore these like big t-shirts because I was like, I don't want people to look at me. And there was one day I wore this like tank top and I had my boobs out, and everybody was so nice to me, and I was just like,
I don't want
this
this.
doesn't feel right. You know, why are you nicer to me? Because now, I mean, you can't see your face as much, but now you're perceiving me for my body, and I'm just like, oh yeah, I forget that life is easier when you put yourself out there in a way that fits the standard. And so I think, we need to push it that it doesn't really matter, that people will treat you the way you deserve to be treated no matter what. Like, it's just crazy to me that we treat people better because of the way they look, which is something they cannot control. Or we treat people like badly because of like things that it's just not right. It just makes me feel really, really upset. And then you can understand why so many people when they see people who are pretty, they feel like they don't want to talk to them, associate them, because they're so used to people like that being treated better and being used to being treated that way, and they're used to be treated in other ways, so they feel like they cannot relate. And it's just, I don't know, I just wish that I don't wish. We are redefining beauty as we have these conversations so that, this whole Eurocentric standard and this beauty being associated with whiteness, all of that will slowly shift. That beauty is associated with all the colors.
I think that will slowly shift when people start really accepting their own bodies as it is. Because for like Instagram, for example, this like with the filters and all that, now people are starting to do their makeup according to the filters and like think that they have to look. Every time I see that, I'm like, it's really cute, but what are you trying to put out to the public? And so like I know I have like kids who are younger than me who follow me on my Instagram, and just like things like how they say like, oh, like I love that you're so confident to like, show your flab out. Like, thank you, but there's an issue with the way that you're saying that, because you shouldn't have an issue. And the thing is,
you shouldn't have to comment on it.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing is, in their head, it's so innocent for them. It's just like, I've been taught to hide away the natural folds of my body just because that's what I've been told is beautiful. And they're so innocently saying it, and like I can't do anything other than say thank you, and assure them like, this is very normal. You should be able to be comfortable in your body, but they still don't understand that. Because
it is as if you're not beautiful, you shouldn't exist.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, I think you're very right in saying that though. It's almost like if you're not beautiful, you need to apologize for your existence.
Yeah.
That's not right.
When people tell you that kind of comments, it makes you want to hide, makes you want to just disappear.
yeah, and then you become more invisible, and then you don't put yourself out there, and you don't hold space for yourself in the public,
And then that's how your life gets stolen bit by bit.
Yeah.
Because you're afraid to voice out. You're afraid to really put yourself out there to chase after the life that you wanted for yourself. And that's what happened to me when I was younger. So it took me a while to, hey, I'm here.
Yeah,
Look at me.
It's good that you occupy
you
space,
came there.
Yeah,
Came to that
occupy
point.
space. That's so important. People don't
and you
realize
hold that space for yourself.
Yes.
Occupying is one thing, but like you need to use the space that you have wisely. You're doing that, so
Yeah, and I don't think that everybody necessarily needs to be an advocate or anything like that. I think just be you. And I think in that, I don't know why, but that is radical enough. And that will push us forward to that point where we can see that everybody is beautiful. And hopefully, if I think like one day if I have a daughter, like I don't want her to feel the way I felt. I don't want her to think about all these things, like, because it sucks. Like it just sucks. I don't think there's any other way to
I think
put
people
it.
need to stop advertising their products, or like just being like having advertisements done in a performative, positive way. Like it's don't claim to be something when you're not. And even to like other people on social media, like we talk about like being body positive and like accepting everyone, but then when it really comes down to it, when you have a conversation with people, are you really though? Like take away you feeling how you feel about yourself. Like that one is something that you have to work on personally, but your outlook of the world and how you view people, like do you actually
genuinely view people in that way? Yeah.
The problem is how you view yourself is also how you view other people.
Yeah, correct.
So everything starts from ourselves.
Yeah, 100%.
And that is actually the hardest thing to do.
Yeah. You know, when I was researching about this, there's this quote by Toni Morrison, and she said, beauty was not simply something to behold, it was something someone could do. And I like that. Why do we have to shift it? We cannot perceive beauty as something that we just are. Because then we're going to keep, this conversation will not progress. We need to change it to something that you can do. Because when the other day I was at my friend's wedding and the two best friends, one of them was crying and I looked at her and I was like, I've literally never seen you look more beautiful, because she was just being vulnerable and she was crying and she was like, my best friend got married, she was so happy, and I was like, that is it. That is what is beautiful. It's that vulnerability. It's being real. It's not about her makeup and her hair. It was about her. And how are we going to shift this? How do you guys think it's gonna? How can we do that?
I think just understanding that beauty is like not just on the surface. Like it is skin deep. It is what makes a person, not just what a person is on the outside.
Yeah.
And understanding and having the empathy to be able to understand people and why they do the things that they do or why they dress a certain way. Like having this, holding this space for someone, I think makes things change.
That made me feel so warm.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to that quote, I think in a way, of course, I think it took us a long time to understand. Like we need to learn how to see us beyond how we look like, and at the same time it gives us back the power to redefine what we think as beautiful, right? And if it's anchored in a way that is really drill down to your actions, and there's literally so many things that we can do. And I think it also taught us to really look at ourselves, to observe ourselves from a third person point of view. You know, like observe ourselves, like, hey, what are the things I don't like about myself, and what are the things I like about myself? And what people don't realize is that we can actually do things and to really work on ourselves to make us like ourselves better. And I think that essentially is self-love, because you're going through a process that it is incredibly uncomfortable because you are trying to change yourself to become the person that you want to be. But once you more or less get there, of course it's going to be a long journey, but you more or less get there, you're more comfortable with yourself. You know what are your values, what are your principles, what do you stand for, what are the personality that you like about yourself, what are the things that you don't really like about yourself but you can't really change as well. And you really learn to embrace that, because you know that is essentially a whole package of what makes us human. Because there are a lighter side of us and there are a darker side of us, and I think a lot of people, they don't know how to embrace the darker side of them.
That we are multitudes.
Multitudes, exactly. And we are a different person when we interact with different people.
We are a different person than we were 2 years ago from this pandemic. Like,
Exactly.
We are always changing.
Exactly. And I think that process itself is beautiful.
Yeah. And I think that's why self-love is not one day I love myself and that's it. It's continuously accepting, understanding, and treating ourselves with empathy and the way we would treat our best friends. That's how we need to treat ourselves.
And sometimes it's disgustingly difficult.
Oh my God, why is it so hard? It's us. We know us better than anybody else, but
It's like that, like we're our own worst critics, right?
But it's a practice, I think. Like it's something that, like you said, it's like showing up every day and doing the work of like accepting yourself.
There's a quote saying that you need to practice who you want to be. That is very on point for me.
Yeah, it's like not an overnight mindset shift. It's like a really everyday, like, it's like, for example, like today I told you, like I thought about concealing my pimples, you know? And I'm like, why? Why do I feel like it's so necessary that if I'm going to be filmed on cameras, I need to cover up my pimples?
I had the same thought when I did that. Why am I doing this? Why is it not okay to have pimples?
You know, and like me in high school, never. You know, I would have concealed them. And it's this practice of like, and you know, when you were talking about how people will comment things like, oh, you're so confident or brave to post something like this. And like, I see that all the time. I see that all the time. You know, I post a photo where I'm not wearing makeup and you can see my breakouts or the texture of my skin. People are like, you're so brave to post a photo like this. And you're like, why? Like, does
is
our skin not look like this
Yeah.
every single day when we wake up? Like,
For all, I didn't even feel like it was a thing that I needed to be brave
when
for.
people tell me, yes, exactly, because when people say like, oh, you're so brave for this, it makes me feel like I should have been ashamed of it to begin with, but I wasn't.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a bit of a double-handed.
Yeah, it's like a compliment insult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Betul.
Yeah.
I think the term is skin neutrality, body
neutrality.
which I think we have still a long way to go.
Yeah, because you can look in the mirror and say, you know what, I don't look my best today, but it's fine. Because it doesn't actually matter. It doesn't, I'm just gonna, I don't feel confident, but you know what, I'm just gonna get on with my day and I'm not gonna let the way I look determine if I'm happy or not.
Betul. I think the pandemic, like, I hate that, you know, there are things that have happened with the pandemic that it's like, okay, here's a silver lining because it was a fucking horrible thing that happened to the world.
Yes.
But there are a lot of things that help with like introspection and how we want to see ourselves.
Like no choice but to introspect.
Exactly. So like just accepting how our bodies look on a day-to-day basis without us doing everything like shaving, waxing, getting a haircut, doing this, doing that.
Grass.
Yeah, exactly. Like
The whole perception was taken away from it because you're not going out to be perceived by other people.
Exactly.
You're the only person seeing you.
Exactly.
No, but I think when we went back out into the world, I was feeling that. I was just like, damn, I don't feel pretty. Everybody's perceiving me. I'm being so perceived, and I was used to just being looked at by my mom and dad and my 2 cats, and like that's it. Nobody else really saw me. And when we stepped back out, I was like, oh, I forgot that when you're in the world, people see you. And that even though it was good, that transition back out, that was kind of hard.
It is still hard, yeah. I think that for me was just like, I was already like this for so long. I don't even like bother getting ready to go anywhere. So whatever lah, now I go out. Like before, if I go to a mall, there's no way I'm stepping into the mall without makeup.
Yeah.
Now I just go in with like my sweats and my t-shirt.
Yeah,
I don't give a shit anymore.
but you're right though. It's like you don't feel like doing it anymore, and it's kind of nice.
Yeah, because we were stuck like this for like almost 2 years now already. You know,
The last lockdown was 5 months, pretty much. Like,
Betul.
it was hard.
We don't talk about that time.
Yeah, it's only August, guys. Like, we haven't quite got into October yet. But I think we're gonna wrap it up because I think we're past 1 hour. But girls, this was amazing. Like, really, I feel really warm after having this conversation. It's really nice, and hopefully, whoever's watching, you know, maybe you feel seen. You feel like your views were represented. And if you are watching, please like, share, comment, subscribe, and stay safe and stay woke, everyone. Bye.